Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Today I'm going to be talking about how I discovered I had ADHD, the signs I saw, and how that led to where I am now. Child, it's a story, but we're gonna try to make it. I'm gonna try to actually make this one a little more faster paced so that I can get you in and out of here. Okay. The reason I really wanted to do this video is I noticed that there aren't too many videos from the black perspective, especially the black male's perspective when it comes to like dealing with college and dropping out and being successful after dropping out of college or all that kind of different stuff. So let's just get right into it. So I'm gonna start in college and then go back. So I started college in the fall of 2019. I graduated high school spring of 2019. Now, going into college, as you can probably know from previous videos, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when it came to college. I had an idea. I knew I wanted to do something kind of creative, so I went into architecture.
What up, y'all? So this Cam vlogs. It's Cam. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
But I got into architecture finally. I had gotten all the supplies. I'm sitting here thinking, yes, this is what I want to do. This is it. Architecture is it. That is going to be the thing. Yes. I get in architecture after that first quarter. Mind you, my school had the quarter system. That's another key detail in this story. I was like, I don't want to do this shit. I thought I liked drawing. I thought I liked doing all this creative shit, making models and shit. But when it came to doing it on someone else's time and doing it for a grade and stuff in that type of sense at that scale, I didn't want it anymore. So I switched to nutrition. I think I did architecture for 1 quarter, then I switched to nutrition. I was like, oh, I'm really passionate about nutrition. I know about veganism. I know about how dairy is not good for us. I know about the different stuff about how meat is not good for us and what the government tells us and all this kind of stuff. So I could become a nutritionist and help people with diabetes and all that kind of stuff, like in the black community, like trying to think getting nutrition. Now, nutrition started off really, really good because I do. Your sister girl over here loves her sciences. She loves her biological sciences. But what I was noticing when it came to school, my main detriment would be my procrastination and not putting out that level of quality work that I should have been or was very much so possible of putting out because of my procrastination. Me not knowing necessarily where that procrastination is coming from, I just know that I don't feel like doing it. Mind you, in high school, I was just, I had become a straight A student by my junior year. And like all throughout school, I was kind of on a roll, honorable mention, like the whole time. You know, I had my little setbacks here and there, but overtly, I was a very good student. And I got into school with the scholarship and stuff. So you would think that I wouldn't be the type to be struggling in school, if you know what I mean. So, nutrition. Oh, when did the pandemic? Yes, the pandemic hit that next year. So I'm in nutrition. January comes around. By this time we've started our second quarter, or we're in the middle of the second quarter, or the second quarter had just started. It's 3 quarters like in the main school year. Then you had a summer quarter, make it 4. So, January rolls around, I'm in some new classes, and everything's going pretty good. I did decently in my last classes. I think I passed them all. So, I get to the pandemic. The pandemic started, like, in March, and in March, that was when that third quarter was starting. So, I had finished that second quarter. Did not do so well there. I was starting to notice a slight decline. I had not started working at this point, but pandemics hit. We had just gotten campus and then I was like, oh no, bitch, you finna go home and you spent all this money, you're not finna get all your money back type shit. And of course, a lot of people was upset. Some people was enjoying the fact that they get to stay home. But me personally, I value being in the classroom and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the pandemic hits, finally at home, trying to do school online. We of course had to still like the online homework modules and stuff. Some stuff never changed, but now I was having to deal with Zoom classes and all that kind of stuff. Mind you, I was already starting to have trouble with showing up to class on time and all that kind of stuff. So by the time the pandemic hit and I was at home with my sister and my parents, my mom and my dad, I really started to notice like how my attention wasn't there. Because I've always had an issue with when it came to like reading, if there were like any outside noises or any stimuli that was going on around me, it was nearly to basically impossible for me to actually sit there and read and comprehend what I'm reading. And I always thought that that was a thing where it's just like, oh, maybe you just don't read enough. Maybe you're just not, maybe because when it comes to reading comprehension, that's a skill. That's like basically like a skill that you can develop. So I was in my head thinking like, oh, well, maybe I'm not intelligent enough because I can't read and comprehend so easily with this outside stimuli like everyone else. Because I don't know what instilled that in me, but I'm pretty sure that's like a thing. But I was noticing like for me to do like a simple assignment that should have took me like 30 minutes to an hour, it was taking me 3+ hours to do the assignment because within those 3 hours, I'm getting distracted. I'm trying to understand what the directions are telling me. I'm getting distracted even more, all those things. So I realized at that point, that was the first thing that kind of ticked my box like, something is a little off here. Maybe it's the pandemic, maybe it's my major, plus I was in a research class, just like we would have these little assignments and shit and be meeting on Zoom about conducting research and making research questions. And the shit was stressing me out because at that point I had stopped wanting to go to class. Like I think at what I would notice when it came to my classes, I would have at least 4 or 3 classes. And what I was noticing is that in order for me to do good in the other ones, I would have to kind of stop focusing on the other ones as much. And that was to my detriment. But I wasn't telling anybody these things. I'm just like, well, damn, I just need to focus on this one more. And maybe we can come back there and try to make some magic happening past the class possibly. But that's when that kind of thing kind of started where I was kind of doing that, focusing on one class or 2 classes and not focusing on the others and kind of letting them. And the research class was one of those classes and I stopped going to class and it just got bad. So by the end of spring quarter, in the heart of the pandemic, I failed all my classes. I had to drop some. It was horrible. It was really horrible. And at this point, I'm thinking like, what the fuck? Do I need to still be in college? Do I need to change my major? What the fuck like I was having like an existential crisis because it's like when you're in school, you have this money behind you. It's like you have this time issue because you said you made this commitment to start now and to, basically continue with, and then the money has certain conditions as well. So it was just like, and you have to have that academic standing. So it was just like, what the fuck am I finna do? I can't just leave. I can't just leave because I'm going to lose money. So if I want to go back, I'm going to have to fund it. My parents most likely aren't going to be able to help me because my scholarships covered like 80 to 90% of my everything, and they paid the extra 10%, or whenever a little sum came in, they paid that, and I really do appreciate them for that. By the end of it all, I ended up trying to switch my major to business management because in business management you can do anything, because at this point I still didn't truly know what drove me, what I really wanted to do. This is editing Chris here. Side note, I am the type of person who can't function. I can't just do things if I'm not passionate about it, if I don't really like what I'm doing. So that's why I had to really know what I wanted to do because, yeah, I had to really like it. And of course, internally, subconsciously, I knew, but I didn't know. So come fall of 2020, that summer, I had started working at McDonald's. I will talk bad on McDonald's and talk shit about how it was hell, but that that McDonald's really taught me a lot. Like low key, it really taught me a lot as a first job. Because with first jobs, a lot of times you won't get hired certain places, especially being a black male. Sometimes this can get real janky. But McDonald's was my first job, and I appreciated it for it being my first job. It was my last option because I knew I was more intelligent. Not more intelligent from McDonald's, but I knew that I had the intelligence to do a lot more different kinds of work. Yeah. Start business management, fall of 2020. Start working at Walmart, a step up, because oh yeah, everything's good. I'm finna be popping my shit. I'm finna be doing good in school again. I'm finna get on my study shit. I'm finna read the book. I'm gonna do this whole thing and work while doing the whole thing. I'm gonna have my money on the side and everything. I'm gonna be doing my thing. Essentially, it did not go that way at all. I think I just from the fall of 2020 onward, it just was a steady decline in my academics. And by 2021, around this time or a little bit earlier, that was the first time I was introduced to marijuana. And I first started smoking marijuana. Mind you, you ask me about some marijuana, even by that point when I smoked for the first time, I'm not. No, I don't need that. I'm not doing that. Oh no, that's bad because it's illegal in a lot of places. That was the start of my self-medication, the marijuana. And it was just like, it was divine in its timing because I feel like everything worked out the way it should have. But it was also just like oof. So by that quarter, maybe my spring quarter, I was so depressed. I didn't know I was depressed. I know now that I was depressed after reflecting, but I was so depressed. I didn't want to go to school. I had ended up getting fired from my job because I was having trouble with getting to my job on time when it was right down the road, like literally like 2 minutes down the road. I could have walked and made it there in like 10 minutes. I got fired from that job, so then I didn't have a job, so I was just like, I didn't have nothing. I wasn't going to school and I didn't have a job and I damn sure wasn't telling my parents shit. So I'm just scaving by. I'm literally scaving by. And just smoking whenever I like starting to smoke more. It was a really dark time. I was really depressed. I had gotten to a point where I considered killing myself or unaliving myself, whatever YouTube allows. But I just want to touch on that for just a second because this time is the point where I started to realize that I do have ADHD and that I do need help. The job and all that kind of helped me get to this point. But my depression, I didn't know it was depression. I felt burnt out. I didn't know what burnout was or anything, but that was the symptoms that I was experiencing, burnout. I would be up at all times of night. I think by this point I did start doing my fashion, so it was just like I would kind of be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a fashion person, but I also was procrastinating doing that, so I didn't have the educational knowledge how to do certain stuff. So that was just another barrier to entry for me, is I didn't know much about fashion. I wasn't in school for fashion. I was going to class every now and again, but I think at one point I really stopped going. But I would just literally lay in my bed, watch TV. And before it got to the point where I didn't have a job, I was doing those same things, but just going to work. Like, that was the highlight of my day, going to work. And then I was even starting to get there late. And then I ended up missing a day, got too many points. You know, at Walmart, you get too many points, it's like automatic firing. So I got fired from there, and then I'm depressed. I'm even more in the depression. But I'll be staying up all times of night, like 3 in the morning and stuff. At one point, to escape, I would literally just get up and just go walking in the middle of the night. It was calming, but I needed help. I was in dire need of help and therapy. And I didn't feel like I had access to them, or I didn't really have good access to those things at the time. And if I did need help getting those things, it was nearly impossible because I didn't know who to go to get help to find these resources. my parents weren't helping me if I were ever to ask, because, you know, in their mind, what you need therapy for? What's wrong with you? Like, they think it's... Anyway, one day in this storm of events, I felt like something was off. I think I had, for like a day or three, I started trying to go back to class, and I was like, something is off. There is something inherently wrong with me while I'm putting these things off. I can't focus on the test. I can't do a homework assignment without wanting to rip my hair out and wanting to just fall over and die because I wasn't getting that dopamine. It was a lot starting to kind of add up, and then I started looking up the symptoms, and I discovered ADHD. Mind you, ADHD, all I knew of it was, oh, these are the kids that can't sit down in their desk at school and they have to get up and move around and stuff. Never thought that would connect to me, and how I very much so did connect with that diagnosis. So I did a lot more research on it. I felt that I had inattentive type. I had some aspects of the ADHD, the hyperactive. I just was doing so much research and learning about it. And so then I brought it to my parents. Trying to get them to see this in me, that, oh, I think I really do have this. I think this really is a thing. And of course they weren't going for it. Like, I was writing out. So with them not going for it, it made me go even harder on me trying to really realize or really diagnose myself with this disorder, because at this point it was just like, if it wasn't that, then I didn't know what it was. Some people be like, well, yeah, you fucking lazy. But no, it was something. I knew it was something else there. So I'm sitting here writing out these whole things. I'm sitting here reflecting on my life, trying to see where I had ADHD in the past. And that's where we go to the childhood. So in my childhood, specifically in like second grade, I think when I was looking back and I was learning all these terms like masking and stuff, I realized that with me being black, and not even me being black, but just other kids in America and how the school system is, you can't be hyperactive. You have to learn to sit your ass down and do all this and that. But a specific instance that I do remember is, I was in this, my teacher's name was Mr. Scott, second grade. He was my first and one of my only black male teachers. I think I only had like 3 in my whole school time. We were reading from our little reading books, you know, those big textbooks, reading books that they, you know. And I was flipping ahead, looking at other pictures in other parts of the book while they were reading. I had my arm in the spot so that I can go back. And he got on to me. And then I did it again. And he got on to me again. And then he ended up where he had his little yardstick, and he would like basically pop us on the head and have us come up to the front hand class, pop us on the hand a few times to discipline us. And this was the first time he ever did it to me, because I was such a good student. Willingly disobedient. And that was an issue that I had for most of my life. Willful disobedience as a kid. And it would be over stuff like, someone tells me no, but it's like they're not telling me why not. So it's just like, I need to know what this is. I was a very curious child, so I'm going to sneak and do it. And then that ended up being to my detriment. But that was the first instance I noticed. But then I noticed even after that, I daydreamed a lot in class. I had trouble with my reading comprehension when it came to outside stimuli. Like when it came to me developing more, I was noticing that was the thing that was happening. Then when it got to my older years, I was noticing I was very forgetful. Like, for example, I forgot my keys in my car 5+ times. And this didn't start till I got to college. And I think when you go to college, especially as a black person, and you're faced with yourself and you're out in the world, you start to notice stuff. With me having the predominantly inattentive type, they say mostly women have the inattentive type, so they can kind of skate by for a long time without being diagnosed or not being noticed. And I was one of those people that was not being noticed for having it, or even if there was showing signs, my parents, they like, no, it ain't nothing wrong with him. So I was forgetful, locking my keys in the car, not being able to focus on lectures. I could focus for a good little, however many minutes or less, and then I'm sitting here doodling. Like, that was one thing that kept me able to even be the somewhat as much engaged as I was doodling in my notes. I would never go back and read my notes. My studying habits were shit. I procrastinated. That was another thing. Whenever I saw this task, like maybe a homework assignment that I know is going to take me 3 hours to do, I would procrastinate it. And then I would be sitting there trying to do it the last night of 3 hours before it's due. And I'm sitting there forcing myself to get through it. And with it being such a time crunch, that's how I was able to go on and do it. I can never just go on and do stuff on my own. And I can't, at this certain point in time, I know this is my ADHD video, but at this certain point in time, I genuinely can't think of all the other symptoms that I was displaying, but I was convinced at this point that I had ADHD. I finally get to a psych doctor. I have to wait like 3 months from early March to May, to finally, 2021, to finally get into this man's office because he kind of booked up. And my parents, like, I had to finally convince them because they own the insurance. I don't have no money at this point. They have to pay for anything, any medical stuff when it comes to me, and as they should, because I'm their dependent. They get the text money off me and shit. But I finally get in this man's office after they're convinced that they don't think I have anything. I finally get in the man's office, and he was like, he started asking me questions. Mind you, I read some reviews about this man on Google, and from the Google reviews, I saw multiple reviews where the doctor would talk about his patient's weight, and to a point where it made them uncomfortable. So I already was a little wary of this man going in. At my wits' end, I work up as much muster as I can to put on some clothes and get to this man's office in a timely manner. And he starts with the ADHD test. And with certain ADHD tests, there are multiple different kinds, but this kind is the kind where he asks questions, specific questions, where it comes to, like, just so he can gauge where I am on the spectrum. So he's asking me stuff about just stupid stuff. I wouldn't say stupid stuff, but kind of stupid stuff. And I, with how I masked and how intelligent I was able to answer his questions mostly with ease. So he had come to the conclusion that I didn't have ADHD, but I was depressed. What he didn't know, what we didn't know then was I was depressed because I had this ADHD. The ADHD was causing this depression. That's something that actually goes hand in hand a lot when you're undiagnosed. And even when you're diagnosed, you can fall into these depressive states because you're not having that dopamine, and it's just like, it can get real janky and real bad. But he told me he thought I had depression. And I'm sitting here like, depression? Like, no, I have ADHD. I'm not telling him this, but I'm just sitting here taking this diagnosis. And he prescribed me Wellbutrin. And so with the Wellbutrin, it also kind of helps with some of the ADHD symptoms. So I'm like, I guess. So I take the prescription and I leave out of there. And when I leave out of there, mind you, for months now, I've been trying to convince my parents and convince myself that I have ADHD. And for him to sit there and tell me within 5 minutes that I do not have ADHD without further testing me, bitch, I had a panic attack. And this was for the first time that I had a panic attack. And it wasn't so extreme, but it was just like the breathing, like not being able to control my breathing. Like, this is my first time experiencing this. I didn't know what was going on. And I'm at a train track. A train is coming. And I'm sitting here kind of freaking out because it's just like, felt like I was insane. Because what the fuck is wrong with me if I don't fucking have ADHD? Depression, I know what depression is. Yeah, maybe I got some symptoms, but I know that I have ADHD, and it's just like, nobody will hear me out. Nobody will listen to me. Nobody will believe me. So I'm having a panic attack, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm just go to Walmart because I need to calm down. I need to walk around, do something. I can't just go back to the room. I can't. So I'm sitting at the train track, and like, my panic attack is I'm feeling such heavy emotions at this point that I had the impulse to hit my gas and run straight into the train. And that's when I really knew after that, I really knew I had some issues. And I know some people will think like, oh, he's so spoiled, he's so whatever that he doesn't get his way and now he wants to kill himself. But no, this is serious mental stuff I had going on here. And I called my dad. He was, of course, no help. He's sitting here kind of chuckling at the fact that I think that I'm having a panic attack when I'm in Walmart. And he's like, oh, just calm down. Just breathe. Da da da. And I told him about the diagnosis and stuff. And the doctor ended up telling me about my weight. He was like, oh, yeah, you're kind of fat, huh? Da da da. You need to lose some weight. I can't even remember everything because I've pushed some of that shit so far back. I can't even bring all that up for you right now. But that appointment, him talking about my weight in the way he did, I can't even remember everything he said. With the depression, you don't have ADHD because you're too smart. You're on an intellectual level as a college student, so I don't think that you have ADHD. Dumb ass shit. You're supposed to be a trained professional. Then summer comes around and it's just like, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. I ended up getting a job to stay in my college town that summer because I had an apartment which lease went through the summer. Da 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 da. Go on along. Maybe like that next school year. At this point, I'm full on self-medicating with the weed. I was smoking weed that summer. That was such a beautiful summer. But I had some codependency issues. Like I would be over a friend's house all the time because I didn't want to be in that room by myself. I had nobody else. So I'd be in her room. We would smoke all the time, and it never seemed like we had issues with us being in each other's spaces. But finally, like maybe that winter of 2022, or yeah, that December of 2021, coming into 2022, I was finally diagnosed by a person. Basically, she was a family friend, and my mom wanted her to come talk to me and my sister to see if we were showing any signs of ADHD, this, that, the other. And I'm like, oh, this is a blessing in disguise because my mom just so happened to run into this lady. So she ended up diagnosing me with ADHD, ADD combination, the combination type where it's both of them, but most predominantly inattentive type, which I had been telling these bitches from the jump. Like I had the exact diagnosis from the jump. Once I finally learned what everything was, I knew it was ADD, ADHD combined, inattentive type predominantly. And that's what it was. So she started us on this medication. She didn't want us on a stimulant, so she had us on some medication. I cannot remember the name. But yeah, that medication wasn't doing me no justice. I'm a very creative person, a very imaginative person. That medication took all my imagination away. Like, I couldn't even think of designs in my head. Like, in order for me to have this little bit of attention that medication was giving me, it took so much from me. So I stopped taking it. My sister was on the same medication. She stopped taking it too. She was having trouble in school. She felt tired all the time. We stopped taking the medication. And then we ended up falling with the lady because she started saying some slick shit too. Finally, 2022, I dropped out of school that spring of 2022. I dropped out that spring, but I tell everybody that I'm taking a break. But from then on, we had that summer, which was last summer, and the fall, and I'm talking to my doctor, my primary doctor, and she recommends this doctor to me in the same city. I finally get an appointment set up. I take the test, some proper testing, like really proper testing. I'm taking tests with the clicking on the thing, computer. I took a long 500 question test. I talked to somebody, and it took however much time, and they finally diagnosed me. I got back in and finally diagnosed me with ADHD, ADD, combination, inattentive type. And his diagnosis was more important than the other one because his was better documented, and it's just like, yes, you have the shit. Now, like, if it comes to, like, getting resources and different stuff, it's on paper. It's for sure, you have ADHD. It is confirmed from all the testing. You have it. I hate that it took me having to drop out and having to do so horribly in school to the point where it's just, like, I probably can't even, like, get back into school so easily without taking out more loans and stuff. I don't plan on going back because it's just not for me. But I hate that it had to get to that point that I had to have such a low depression for somebody to want to take a chance on me as a black young man individual to get me diagnosed with ADHD, because that was one of my fears, that nobody would see it in me because I was so intelligent and I was at this certain age or whatever. All that self-medicating, by the time I got home from school, I had not been smoking weed, and I haven't really smoked weed since. And so I think that's kind of been a good thing for me as well. But now I'm at a point where I'm in a self-love journey. I'm finally on proper medication. I'm able to do the things that I actually want to do, especially when it comes to fashion. I have an outfit coming probably this week. Whenever this video drops, it'll probably be out. But that was my first outfit I made from scratch, and I was so happy with myself because I finally could sit down, plan it out, not just doing stuff on impulse. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do this photo shoot, and then burning out kind of, or just not being able to be consistent. But I'm finally working on my consistency, my self-love, just working through a lot of shit. I'm in therapy. But the message that I want to give, if you get to this point, for my people, black people, men and women, girls and boys, if you're watching this, you know yourself better than anyone else knows you. And do not stop until you get the proper care that you need and deserve. Do not let anyone gaslight you out of what you know that is inside you. Keep getting second opinions if you can. Keep striving. And even if you can't get a diagnosis, there are multiple videos online on like how to cope with ADHD, like certain stuff you can do. And it's just like, I know me personally, I needed that medication. Like I needed to get on something because I knew that the little task and shit, it helps me now that I'm diagnosed. I can start to implement certain stuff, but without it, I needed something. Do not go without when you know you need something or you know you need help. Do not continue to stay in a rut and just let people call you lazy, because that is what we're conditioned to think that we are when we have these things going on with us. It's really mental health. It's not always laziness. And yeah, that's my experience. I'm not in college anymore. I'm pursuing my dreams. In between blessings, that's what I like to say. And money is flowing through me. It comes to me easily. Flows in and out easily. We are abundant. Speaking into existence. A funny story really quick before I leave. I accidentally, in the morning, sometimes I forget to take my medicine, or sometimes forget if I took my medicine or not in the morning. I have to take it once a day, every day. I take it in the morning so that, I can feel the effects throughout the day. 2 Sundays ago, I accidentally took 2. And the reason I took 2 was because I took 1, and then I was sitting there like, oh, did I take my medicine? And I'm sitting there contemplating if I took it or not, because you so forgetful. You could be so forgetful. And I was so forgetful. Especially in the morning times, the medicine, I'm not medicated at this point. So I ended up taking 2. And that was my heart. Yeah, I was really focused throughout the day. That was the first time I edited my pictures, the Mario pictures. I was editing them on that double dosage. But after that, I was going to have not have enough to finish that cycle. So I had a few more pills. I was like, I'm just going to skip the next day, which was a Monday. Child, I did not take that medicine. I was stimming like a motherfucker. I was singing, hooping and hollering that next morning. I was just not frantic, but I was just like everywhere. And I like really realized, oh, this is where the hyperactivity comes in. Like I really like saw that shift. It was a real shift. And I was just thinking about it after I reflected, like, how did nobody ever notice this? Maybe they just thought I was just a hyper kid, or just hyper, or just really lively, but like, how did nobody notice this? That really confirmed for me. If I had not had all the confirmations that I needed before now, that really confirmed to me that I have ADHD. That was this video. I do want to do more ADHD content in the future. I do thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, it's Saturday. There's good vibes going on with Chloe. Just dropped a song the other day. Victoria Monet, some good music out there. I'm finna indulge and also take breaks. I'm gonna try to link some resources in my description for anyone that does need help or do feel like they may be neurospicy. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and thank you for listening.